Swing and a drive.
Welcome to Red, White, and Blue Jays, the podcast home of Blue Jays Fans UK, a group connecting Blue Jays fans around the UK and beyond, and telling their story. And now, here's the host of Red, White, and Blue Jays, Steve Hunter.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Red, White and Blue Jays. Great to be back with you. As I've said on so many occasions, what I love about doing this pod is that I get to chat to all sorts of different people. And we've had, fans from the UK, we've had fans from Canada, we've had fans over into Europe. Also had the opportunity, obviously, to talk to some of the guys that are involved in the broadcasts. Lots of real pleasure in talking to people who just love Blue Jays baseball. And I'm very pleased to have tonight Mark with me, who definitely fits that bill of a Blue Jays follower, passionate follower. And he joins me this evening, actually, from somewhere in Florida. I'm not exactly sure where you are, Mark. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in hot and humid Miami here on at the end of a 2-week business trip. So as we speak, I'm literally flying home tomorrow.
Very good. So just where have you actually gone to? I know you were in Chicago, you're now in Miami. Where else have you been?
I was. So this is just a work-related trip. First time since obviously COVID ended for me to reasonably get back over here and see some of my clients. So the company I work for, we've got a lot of US-based clients in kind of FMCG and retail that we support. So over in Atlanta and Chicago. Chicago was the main part of the trip. And now I'm down in Miami for a conference. I'm flying home. So as you know, by incredible chance, the Blue Jays were in Chicago when I was in Chicago.
And of course, you were heartbroken about the whole thought of getting to a Blue Jays game while you're on your road trip.
Unbelievably heartbroken. What a bind.
Absolutely. Work gets in the way of our enjoyment. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll chat about your trip in a moment in terms of what you've been up to and particularly the Jays game that you saw a couple of nights ago. But let's rewind the clock, because as we do on this pod, we like to hear background stories of how you've become a Jays fan. Where did it all start for you? How long has it been? Just give us all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's part of a pretty emotional time in our life, to be honest. Me and my wife, we moved to Canada in 2011. We had specifically tried to. We got permanent residency status. It was something that we'd always wanted to do. We had a dream to try to go live in Canada, further our careers, further ourselves as people, do something incredible. And we landed upon Canada. So we went through the permanent residency application process, which took a few years. We didn't have any family over there. We didn't want to go without a job. So we did the PR process, were successful. And then I went through a process of applying to some companies. In probably, let's say, early 2011, I started to go through that process. And one of the things my wife always reminds me about, my wife is called Catherine. She said, look, let's try and do this with like a big company, a company that's going to further your career. Let's not take a risk. So I just kind of started firing off my CV and LinkedIn and job applications. And, sometimes the stars align, right? So about 2 weeks later, I had a call from the PepsiCo Canada HR team. And I said to my wife, she came home from work, and I said, hey, you know that rule about go to a big company when we move to Canada? It's like, PepsiCo, have you heard of them? Are they all right? She's like, yeah, that's fine. We can do that. So just like I say, stars aligned. There was a job that fitted for me with a great company. And they liked the fact that we'd already gone through the PR process, permanent residency. So I did some video interviews first before they wanted me to fly out to Toronto. And then they invited me out. So I had to go out for 3 days of interviews. I just did a little bit of background research on this just to check. So I flew out on the 3rd of September 2011, spent a week in Toronto, and the 6th, 7th, and 8th, I was in the PepsiCo office seeing various people. So I kind of looked on the internet late August, early September as to, well, what can I go and do in Toronto for a long weekend? And I'm sorry to say this, but I thought, oh look, the Red Sox are in Toronto. That's exciting. I'll go and watch the Boston Red Sox. That's cool. What a cool thing to do. So I went on the Ticketmaster. I got kind of $10, $11 tickets right up in the 400s of Rogers Centre, and just got hooked from there. The game I saw isn't necessarily one that you would think would hook someone for their first time. So the game I saw was 0-0 in the 10th inning.
Excellent. Pitcher's duel. So
I kind of turned to the guy next to me and said, when does this get like declared a tie? And he's like, it doesn't. This could go on some time. So I said, I think I'm done. This was fun. This was great. You know, Jose Bautista was playing, and clearly he got a big reception. Edwin Encarnacion, Brett Laurie. So, you know, I was starting to realize who some of these big players were. The Boston Red Sox, of course, had some pretty famous players on their team around about that kind of time. So I kind of thought to myself, great, that's cool. I've seen a Major League Baseball game. I'll leave now. And as I walked out of the ground, Brett Laurie hit a walk-off home run, which I missed. So my first ever, and I've never seen since, all the games I've been to since, I've never seen Toronto walk it off. So I was walking down the steps of the Rogers Centre as Brett Laurie launched a homer out of the ground. So that was my first game. Hooked from there. Really, just became really inquisitive about the game, wanted to understand it more. So then we moved. The job application went through. I was successful. We moved out there in December of 2011.
Okay.
I started the job in January 2012, and we had, honestly, Steve, I don't know. I want to know a bit about you as well. I don't know if you've lived out there or what your reason for this is, but honestly, the 5 best years of my life living in Toronto.
Yeah. And were you living in downtown? Were you in the GTA? Whereabouts were you?
Yes. So for those that know the intersection, specifically Spadina and Queens Quay.
Right downtown.
Oh yeah. I mean, 5-minute walk from the Rogers Centre.
Chill.
We actually lived very close to Pete Walker. Who saw once or twice. So stunning. So 5-minute walk, and on summer nights that we weren't in the stadium, we could hear the home run horn go off from our balcony. Which was always quite good fun.
That's very cool story. Interestingly, we also looked at trying to get residency a few years back. We just couldn't get the points to work for us, to be honest. So you've done really well. I think depending on your circumstances, we got kids and all of that as well to think about. And we definitely had a look at the potential going out. Yeah, my story, if you don't know, it is actually I fell in love with the Jays because I was on vacation staying with some friends of ours in Hamilton back in 1994. So that was my so that was my first trip just before the strike happened that particular year. So I was about 4 or 5 days before the strike took place. And of course, back then, no internet, no TV coverage, none of that sort of stuff. We're living in the land of luxury now. So the only way I could keep up with what the Jays were doing once they started playing again in 95 was to go down to our local W.H. Smith newsagents, where they had once a week an international version of USA Today, which had a little bit of the baseball and coverage and stories and stuff. So that was my very early experience of trying to keep up with the Jays. So at least you've been in the internet era, and all that sort of stuff. So settling into Toronto, where are you from in the UK? I don't know what part of the country.
So I'm born in Bristol, grew up in Bristol. My wife was all around. Her dad was in the army, so she lived kind of internationally for a long period of time.
Okay.
And then we got together in Bristol. So we're kind of down southwest. We currently live in Wiltshire.
Well, you're not far from me then.
Oh, where are you?
I'm in Bournemouth.
Oh yeah, not too bad.
Not a million miles away.
No, I had to go to Bournemouth for my first vaccine. In fact, that was the last time I was in Bournemouth. But no, Wiltshire for about 10 years. Then we went to Toronto for 5. Came back and lived in London for 3 years.
Okay.
And now we've been back 6 years from Canada. So 3 years in London, 3 years back in Wiltshire, which is where we live now.
Very nice. I have to say, you're disguising your Bristolian accent very nicely. Is it in there? Sorry, is it one of those sort of things that you?
There's a story behind it. But if you want that, I mean, this is completely unrelated to baseball.
But we want to know about you. I
used to have. That's fine. When I grew up in inner city Bristol, so in kind of Knoll and in Brislington, so I had quite the Bristolian accent up until the age of about 11. And to this day, I still don't know how I did this, but I passed the entrance exam for one of the big private schools in Bristol. So I went to Bristol Cathedral School. On a I got a scholarship, right? Sure. I'll be honest, I did not come at all from a wealthy family, and funds for a private school were completely beyond us. But I got the scholarship, full scholarship, turned up on day one. And I wouldn't say my Bristolian accent was beaten out of me at Bristol Cathedral School, but it's getting close to that level. So there I was, a lad on a scholarship from Knoll, for those of you that know the Bristol area, predominantly with the children of lawyers from Redland and Clifton and the like.
Very nice.
And my Bristolian accent very quickly disappeared.
Excellent. That's very cool. My son is about to go off to university to Bristol next year, or in September this next academic year. So we're going to have to get used to the city. And my eldest daughter went to Bath, so we sort of know that part of the world very well. So
very nice places. Very nice places to go to university. Both of them. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Okay, so let's just talk about your Toronto years then, because obviously that is the bit that we are primarily interested in. Yeah, you fell in love with the game, on that first visit. How much did you know about baseball? I mean, are you
nothing?
You knew nothing about the game, didn't know how it worked, all that sort of stuff.
Nothing.
Okay,
nothing. I am very sporty. I have played pretty much every other sport that there is where you hit a ball in my life. I knew nothing of baseball. I think on some American road trips, of which we had done a lot on holiday, I'd been in the US a few times when the World Series playoffs were on. So I'd seen a couple of games in a bar. Right. I knew essentially nothing. I was hooked on. I picked up quite quickly on the very considered. Every pitch is very considered. Every defensive move is very considered. The pitching matchups and the fielding matchups are all very considered. I like that. Yeah. That's what kind of got me. I also liked how, again, for a 0-0 game in the bottom of the 10th that had very few hits, I also kind of picked up quite quickly in that first game on the rhythm. Baseball gets into this real rhythm. The pitcher gets into his rhythm. Yep. The batters get into a rhythm. I just liked that. And then what I suggest really hooked both me and my wife, Catherine, on this. Literally the first friends that we made in Toronto, who we will be grateful to forevermore for this, in very early in 2012, were season ticket holders, a very, very passionate couple. And they were not able to make opening day.
Okay.
April 2012.
Yep.
I mean, I know this is a cliche that Canadians are lovely, wonderful, friendly, nice, welcoming people, and they are. They gave us their season tickets for opening day 2012.
Wow.
And that was just at that point. I mean, I've been to a lot of games at Rogers Centre. I don't think I've ever seen one fully packed. Canada Day games are pretty rammed. Opening day 2012 was jam-packed, 40-odd thousand people to the rafters. And that was the point, I think, at which we were probably hooked, because then we're like, look at this. It's so friendly. It's a family thing. You can go and sit with a hot dog, chill out, watch the game. That was probably the point at which it became, all right, this we want to do more of. And then that first year, I went to a couple, like PepsiCo was really big on kind of team events. So I got taken to a couple of games with PepsiCo. Then I'm talking to people who are super knowledgeable. They've been playing the game their whole lives, watching the Blue Jays their whole lives. Colleagues at PepsiCo who had been to the 92 and 93 final games. So talking very, very passionately about that. And then Canada Day, 2012, we got tickets to the Canada Day. Again, a couple of friends had said, look, you really must do that. You must go to the baseball on Canada Day. We never missed a Canada Day game. We went all the times that we could. And then that kind of 2012 period hooked. And it was benefited because they had a couple of real superstars on the team. So Bautista, Encarnacion, just really clearly big, famous players. Loved it. Loved the atmosphere. Yeah, hooked.
Amazing. So when did you come back? What year is it that you returned?
So we came back we came back on Canadian Thanksgiving Day 2016. So our final day was second week of October 2016, and we came back just after the Jays had got knocked out of the 2016 playoffs.
Right.
I think they needed to win 2 of their final 3 games of the regular season, which they did.
Yep.
Made it into the playoffs and then had a small run and lost. So our final 2 years in Toronto were the 15 and 16 playoff years, which is pretty good to see. And honestly, the atmosphere, again, where we lived, we never got tickets to a playoff game. That was, we weren't that well connected. We didn't have people giving up their season tickets for that.
No, sure.
But it was wonderful. We were kind of watching on the TV. We had our windows open so you could get the vibe. The city was just alive down that whole area. So we watched the famous Bautista bat flip, which was the 2015 season. Yeah. So we watched that on our TV 200 yards away from the Rogers Centre, which was...
What was it like when everybody's coming out then? Because I've spoken to loads of people who were at the game and what they remember of actually being in the ballpark. I guess you guys, you're watching it as all the fans are coming out and there's just all the jubilations of, winning.
Loved it.
The series.
Car horns going off, Canadian flags being flown out of subway cars. Because the TTC ran right along Queen's Quay from us. So, just chaos. Wonderful chaos. Yeah.
And it was a crazy series, wasn't it? The 2015 series. That the divisional playoff in terms of losing the 2 home games in Toronto, going down to Texas, pulling them back, coming back to game 5, and everything was then teed up for that. And then you get this extraordinary 7th inning, which I don't know for you in terms of any other sporting events. I don't remember something with so much drama in it in the middle of a sports game quite like that moment.
No, that was pretty special. That was pretty special.
It was crazy stuff. Okay, so after the 2015-16 season, you returned to the UK. How have you go on, just give us that bit of story.
We came back. It was a real tough decision, to be entirely honest. So I was let go from the company I was working for. So I'd had 2.5 years at Dempsey. Took a promotion up to I was kind of headhunted to go to another company. Took a promotion to go to another company. That was working out really well for a while. So kind of middle of 2016 was the first time really the Canadian economy got a bit challenged. It stayed quite strong the whole way through kind of the recession in Europe and the American recession. 2016 was a bit challenging, and unfortunately the company I was working for made the decision to let me go. So a bit of a package from that. So that was quite bittersweet, because we had genuinely had at that point about 4.5 years of just incredible time. So bittersweet. And we thought about it for a few months. Took some time I looked for new jobs in Toronto. I looked for jobs back in the UK. And honestly, that kind of middle half, end of the year 2016 in Canada was pretty challenged for the Canadian economy, and there wasn't recruiting happening. So I took the decision to take a job back in London, which was we were torn, Steve, to be entirely honest,
Sure.
and we made a practical decision and not an emotional decision. If we'd made an emotional decision, we would have stayed in Toronto and fought for that. But we thought, look, 5 incredible years, and honestly, the chance to kind of go back, which we did. So came back late 2016, October 2016, and immediately signed up for MLB.TV. We wanted to kind of make sure that we could keep connected to the Blue Jays, and we still have. I mean, we are 6 years later, still watching any games that we reasonably can, particularly the kind of the.
You don't do the late nights? Come on.
I don't do the late nights. You alluded to the fact that you've seen my Twitter feed about the Dallas Cowboys. I do the late nights for the Dallas Cowboys, which is my number one. Sorry to say this, my number one sports team. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't say up for both. But I always watch back the next games, particularly the big games. But my wife and I will generally have a Toronto Blue Jays baseball game on at least once a week. There's normally like a Saturday or a Sunday is a good one to have.
Totally.
We really enjoy just kind of chilling out. One of the most important reasons for us to keep that going actually is to listen to Buck, who became like one of our family. I mean, Buck is one of the first voices that we Canadian voices that we heard. So that for us was. I mean, of the news a little while ago, obviously very, very emotional for us, and we send him our love and best wishes. I mean, Buck taught me about baseball is how I would say it, right? So the number of times that we had Buck on in our living room in Canada and then subsequently in the UK, he's a constant from our time in Canada to our time in the last 5 or 6 years. He taught me about baseball. I remember phrases. I remember his kind of his pacing, his commentary. He's very special to us. So we wanted to kind of get his commentary as well. And I would say the same thing about a guy that you had on recently. I was very jealous that you got to talk in detail to Mike Wilner.
Yes.
Again, his radio commentary for me stands out as teaching me about the game. As do his increasingly. But he's love kind of the connection that we made with those guys, real experts, and they taught me about the game.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool to acknowledge these broadcasters in terms of the influence that they have on us as fans. I think one of the things that I'm aware of is how much I've also learned by listening to Buck and Tabby and Dan Schulman and people like Mike and now Ben Wagner and so on. And I think, when I've had these guys on the pod, I've made it clear and wanted to make sure that I said to them how appreciative as a fan I am of the work that they do. And I think it's good to acknowledge, those guys and the impact. And I think particularly for people like us who are, haven't grown up with the culture of baseball in our lives. It's not like watching football or whatever over here. It's very important that, the work that they do helps us enjoy the game. And I think, as we were reflecting back on the 2015 Batflick game, without commentary, and I've talked to people in the ballpark on that night, it was very hard for them to understand exactly what was going on. And that play when Russell Martin threw the ball back and hit Shu's bat. And I think, it's those sort of things. That's when the commentators and the broadcasters come into their own, isn't it? In terms of helping explain that sort of stuff to people like us.
So I know you recently interviewed Wilner. Have you interviewed Buck?
No, I've not interviewed Buck. I would love to. But I'm conscious, obviously, with his treatment at the moment, he's just out of the scene. But if the opportunity came along, I would love to have him on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, if by any chance, Buck, you ever get to hear this, please let me know. But yeah, we would. It'd be great to speak to him. So sorry, go on.
Just as a quick segue to the game that we need to talk about that I was just at, the seats that I had at the Chicago White Sox stadium just a couple of nights ago, I could literally look up into the booth and see Schulman and Pat Tabler, which was quite cool. They had all the windows open. It was a very hot and humid night, so I could actually see up into the booth and see them commentating a bit, which was quite cool.
So let's talk about that now you've mentioned it. So this was your first game since you returned from Canada, or have you been back and seen them?
No. It was the first since we came back. So we came back in late 2016. Our final couple of games, we were at Canada Day in July 2016.
Okay.
And then a game, we were at the fourth from final game of the 2016 regular season, which we were winning and then lost. So the playoffs were looking a little bit sketchy at that point, but then I think Toronto won 2 of its last 3. So we saw a game right at the end of the 2016 regular season. Swore we would go back quickly, which things, as they often do, conspired against us to do. Then COVID and other things. I think the Toronto Blue Jays were slated to come over to London and play an international game at one point, and then they didn't. That was something that we were told by one of the team actually in 2016.
I don't know how true that is, because I know that they had the Yankees, Red Sox, obviously in 2019. The Cubs, Cardinals were due here in 2020, and certainly on the official lines, they hadn't announced any further games at that particular point in time. And I think the question for me always has been, particularly with the Jays, is whether they would bring in a big enough audience for MLB to get behind them coming here. So we'll have to see what happens, because obviously there are some international games that are coming up over the next 4 years. So hopefully Jays will be part of that. We'd love to see them here. Would
love to be.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So this was my first one in say 5.5 years. So
very cool.
completely by chance. My company said, all right, time to get back over to the US. And I had to be in Miami the last couple of days for a big industry conference, and timed kind of 8 days in Chicago prior to Miami. Looked at the Blue Jays schedule and realized my final night in Chicago, the Blue Jays were playing the White Sox. Wonderful. I got tickets the moment they went on sale, treated myself to a pretty good ticket right next to the Jays dugout.
Great.
Wonderful. I've been looking forward to it for about 3 months longer than that, probably 4 months since the tickets have been on sale. And it was great. So as you can probably imagine, I was in the stadium the moment I could get in the stadium. Gates opened about 2 hours before, so I went straight in, watched batting practice. From kind of just behind home plate. Thought, well, I'll kind of, that's good. I've watched a bit of batting practice. I'll go around and watch some of the pitchers warming up in the bullpen. So I wandered to the far end, the bleachers. I don't know if you've been to the White Sox stadium, but it's good, kind of traditional bleachers at the back end of the stadium. Where you can kind of look then into the bullpen. And as I was looking into the bullpen, Bo Bichette was kind enough to cream an absolute, no doubter home run right at me from batting practice. So I even got a ball to walk away from, hit to me by Bo, which was rather nice. Fantastic game. The whole experience was wonderful. As you know already by now, it was a loss. So I got to see the first of the 3 games in late June against the White Sox. We were 8-2 down, fought our way all the way back to 8-7. Honestly, Steve, I don't really care that we lost. It was just wonderful to see the team again. Just wonderful to be able to kind of wear my red Canada Day jersey to a game, and cheer and root for the Blue Jays. Great experience. Loved it. Just wonderful.
Oh, it's amazing. You're all very jealous that we weren't there with you. I think, actually watching the Jays on the road is a different experience to watching them at Rogers Centre as well. And yes, I have been to Chicago, and it is an amazing ballpark, as is Wrigley. It's a great city.
Yeah.
And yes, certainly a great place to go and see them play.
It's a great city. It's really one of my favorite world cities. So it's kind of a real privilege to be able to go there. I tweeted about it. I know you saw that. I went to Wrigley on the Saturday, so I saw the
You did,
yeah.
I saw
Jays.
that, yeah.
I saw the Jays on the Monday, but 2 days before that, I'd gone to Wrigley to watch the Cubs against the Braves, and the Cubs were very, very good against obviously an exceptionally strong Braves team. Wrigley Field is something else. I mean, the Chicago White Sox Stadium is a very nice ballpark, but Wrigley Field is just something else.
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, it is a strange. I mean, it obviously has all the history, a bit like Fenway does. You've got. I don't think it's the most comfortable, and it's not the best view. I don't think at Wrigley. You've got a lot of the stanchions from the roof and stuff that you can find yourself sitting behind if you're in the wrong part of the ballpark. But it's just the uniqueness of the ivy wall, and then you've got the seats on the buildings that are beyond the ballpark as well, which is all very strange. You would never see that here. But it is a unique place to go and visit, and definitely one of those things that you need to tick off your bucket list if you haven't had the chance to go and see the Cubs play.
I'm very glad I did, and it was just a true baseball experience. So very good. Very good.
Yeah, one of my favorite Instagram people that I follow, just because it's so quirky, is actually the organist for the Cubs. If you just do a little bit of research on him, he puts lots of clips of him playing the organ in games, and just his mind in terms of choosing the right music for the moment. I mean, I think he basically does it off the top of his head, which is amazing. Amazing skill. So
that's good to know.
I can't remember his name. I apologize. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but if you just have a little Google for the Cubs organist, you'll find him, and there's good account to follow. So in terms of your Canada Day jersey, you've got 716 on the back, I noticed.
Yes, I have the suite number, the apartment number that we lived in.
Ah, right. Okay. Because I was thinking, well, normally it's 416, isn't it? Because that's the area code for Toronto, which a lot of.
And the number of people that have said to me, shouldn't that be 416?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's the apartment that we lived in. We didn't, my wife and I couldn't kind of agree on who was a favorite player enough, that we should have their number. So then we thought, well, we'll think about something else. We were kind of tempted. We were leaning towards, 11 for Pilar. We were both big Pilar fans.
Right.
And a few others, but neither of us were kind of, it has to be that player. So we said, okay, let's do something that was us.
Yeah.
So that was our suite number in the condo we lived in.
Very good. That makes perfect sense now. Just give me your view though on the red jersey, because it's a bit controversial at the moment. Well, it has been for a few years, to be fair. It's not just at the moment. They don't play very well when we've got the red jersey on. What is your take on all of that sort of stuff?
They don't. Mike Wilner makes it very, very clear that he does not believe in any kind of commentator's curse, any kind of superstition whatsoever. Wear whatever jersey you want, wear whatever socks you want. Do whatever kind of move or dance you want to do as you walk to the plate. None of that makes any difference whatsoever. I do lean towards Mike Wilner's view of that. We just go out and win. It doesn't matter what color you're wearing. I love the red jersey. The only thing I would say is, it was only about a month ago they wore it, and I don't think I'd seen them wear it other than Canada Day. To the point where I said to my wife, I was like, did they lose their other jerseys or something? Why are they wearing red?
Well, I think, as I understand it, I think it's down to the pitcher, the starting pitcher, that he gets to choose.
Oh, really?
As I understand it, I don't know how true that is, but several people have said to me that's the reason. They did have I think it was 2017, they went every home game, stand game on a Sunday, they decided to wear their red jersey. So that particular season, they had lots of opportunities to wear it. And I think their record when they had the red on was pretty poor. Then I think they sort of went back to the more traditional, we'll wear it just on Canada Day, because that makes sense. Yeah. I get that. I don't know. I've got a red jersey, as you can see, hanging up behind me here. So I'm not totally against them, but they're not my favorite jersey, just because, you know, we're Blue Jays, we're not Red Jays. So I tend to.
I like it
a bit more traditional.
I like it for Canada Day. I think sure. It's a wonderful thing. I think it's a wonderful thing for Canada Day, and frankly, the only color that me and my wife were ever going to get as our kind of game jersey was the red one. Just, you know, special to us. Again, our fandom of the Blue Jays is an entirely emotional and entirely non-rational one. So why wouldn't we go for the red jersey that everyone hates, that they never win wearing? Yeah,
I think most people's experience of following the Jays is an emotional one. It certainly is. I mean, you obviously lost the game that you went to see the other night. They lost last night to a very, again, close game, went into extras, and unfortunately just didn't come up top tonight. So we're recording here. It's quite late in the evening now. It's 20 to midnight here in the UK, as I'm talking to you over in Florida. But tonight's game, or this afternoon's game for you, looking a lot stronger. Good to see them bounce back.
Yeah.
How are you feeling generally about, you know, the season? It's probably not played out quite how we all thought it would do, but they seem to be generally sort of pushing in the right direction. Are you sort of happy with where things are at?
So I really am, although I'll kind of preface that with, I know nothing about baseball to the degree where I can look at it and say, okay, here's a sign that they're going to do really well. You know, I'm not in the weeds of it that much that I can identify the real telltale signs of, you know, is this a championship team or is this not a championship team?
Right.
So I'll say I'm very happy about the last couple of off seasons. I'm very happy about some of the trades that they've done. I think my personal view is this is a very strong team capable of very good things. And I'm very confident that we will get into the playoffs this year. So what I'll do is, rather than kind of hope, I'll tell you what I heard a guy say to me at the White Sox game. So I was sitting in front of a couple of Chicagoans, clearly very, very passionate Chicago White Sox fans. And also I could pick up from the way they were talking early in the game, very knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable. Turns out one of them is actually a high school baseball coach.
Right.
So good, you know, has played the game his whole life, has coached the game his whole life. There was a run at one point in the game I was at, there was a rundown. So I think it was Springer was trapped between second and third. And the guy sitting behind me was like, oh, that was that was textbook. That was the way I teach my kids. That was exactly how you throw someone out when they're being run down. So I kind of turned around and said to him, oh, that's interesting. I said, I've never played the game. Can you tell me why that was textbook? Why was that? He's like, oh, well, you know, you never kind of just start throwing the ball. Someone needs to run towards the guy, kind of trap him in between the bases, reduce down the amount of space he's got to maneuver. So, oh, okay, that's interesting. You know, so we got into a really good conversation about some of the tactics of baseball and what he teaches his kids. And he said this to me. He said, and I think we were only in about the fourth inning at that point. He said, I have to tell you, I'm very impressed with this team and how they hustle. He said, I go to a lot of games and this is a team with a real hustle. He said, you can feel their passion.
Yeah.
And I said, that's really cool to know, because I feel like they're a team that hustles. I feel like they're a team that never says die. And of course, I was seeing them the day after they beat the Yankees 10-9.
Yeah.
Having been really quite down. I think we were kind of 8-3, 8-4 down. Came back and beat the Yankees 10-9. And he pointed out a couple of times later on in the game, he actually kind of tapped me on the shoulder. He was like, look, see, that's what I mean. Like real hustle, like Bichette stole a base. There was a couple of other examples, like a really good couple of defensive plays, a really good double play that could have gone wrong. And he was very passionately pointing out to me, this is a really good team. This is a very good Toronto team because of how they're hustling, their passion, they're playing for each other. And I, you know, some fans, you can think they don't know what they're talking about. This guy I feel like he knew what he was talking about. He kind of had lots of evidence and obviously lots of experience being a high school baseball coach. Yeah. And that kind of resonated with me. I'm still, a few days later, I'm quite pleased about that. I'm quite chuffed, as you might say in Bristol, which is for him to spot that and be happy to talk about it. Now, his mood changed when Cavan Biggio hit one of the sweetest home runs.
Yeah, that was great to see.
I have ever seen. His mood changed, and I will tell you this: I stood up out of my seat, and as we were talking about earlier with Buck, as a kind of a nod to Buck, yelled at the top of my voice, "Get up, ball gone!" Yeah. Which was my little nod to Buck for that one, and I incurred the wrath of several White Sox fans around me for that.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, you're on the south side of Chicago. You're going to get a bit of.
Yeah, that one I was invited to sit back down.
Yes, very politely, I'm sure.
Yes,
it's. I think you're absolutely right. The team are fighting, and there have been setbacks obviously through the season. We've had injuries and bits and pieces that, like any season, I guess, but particularly that there's been some key moments. Obviously, we lost Ryu now for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Danny Jansen's come, was out, and then he came back, and then now he's out again, and Tio was obviously out for a big portion as well. I think what we're seeing now, just as we're sort of heading into the All-Star break, I think we're seeing a team that has got a bit of momentum behind it.
Yeah,
there are clearly still some issues. I think the bullpen for me is looking a little bit questionable. I mean, obviously they worked hard last night, and then in today's game, we were well in command, and then we looked like we were going to leak a few runs, and we did.
Who pitched? I was in the conference this afternoon. So who caused us to lose some runs?
Yeah, so Stripling was pitching today. Then Adam Simba came in, and he gave up a few, and then Tim Mazur sort of got us through to the end. So we've won the game. We've got a day off tomorrow, so that's good.
Good.
It's a chance to reboot. But I think there are just a few gaps that we've got now that I think they're going to have to do some trades. And the question is who they're going to trade to get those players in.
I will say this. I did tweet about this. Not that the whole world is watching my tweets and holding their breath for what I say about the Toronto Blue Jays by any stretch of the imagination, or in general. But Matt Gage, who came in and pitched the 8th. So again, I saw the first of the 3 against the White Sox. Matt Gage came in, pitched against the 8th, pitched in the 8th, and was incredibly impressive. I think he got the side out in 8 pitches, something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, the very knowledgeable guy sitting behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I've never heard of this guy."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I can't really add anything." I said, "I think we've only just called him up. I think this is his first." And I checked back, and in fact, it was. He played his first game for us only 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
3 outs, very, very impressive, cool, calm, collected chap. Came in, and he came in on the second game as well, and pitched pretty well. So I agree with you. I think the bullpen remains probably the area where we would say, what can we do? Is there a veteran we can bring in? Is there a trade available? But Matt Gage, I'm quietly confident about what he might be able to do.
Did Moreno play on?
Yes, he did, and I was excited about that. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention to you. So we were very quickly 5-6 runs down. I from memory now, I think the White Sox scored in all of the first 4 innings. When I saw them. So I think we were 6-2 down at the end of the 4th, which is unlike Berrios. So you've got your Berrios jersey up behind. Up behind. Yep. I must say, I was very, very surprised to find us 6 down with Berrios pitching. The observation that was made by my new smart friend behind me was that probably Moreno and him were not on the right, not connecting correctly, not on the same page of the old hymn sheet, if you like, which makes a lot of sense. Once you think about it, again, this is where I am nowhere near and don't pretend to be in the weeds enough of understanding the way that catchers and pitchers call a game. But his observation was, hey, this is a young catcher who has got a very, very bright future ahead of him. And this is the first time he's caught Berrios, and they're just not on the same page here. There's just no connection, which makes sense. Like it would make sense that this was not Berrios just suddenly having an absolutely diabolical game.
No, although he has had some wobbles. But it's funny because because he obviously was our opening day pitcher and had a real struggle that day. Didn't get out the first. He's then had some amazing outings. So I think it's just the life of a starting pitcher. Sometimes you're on your game, and other days, for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. Yeah, so I think it's great with Gabriel Moreno and a lot of these young guys is that they will be around for some time to come. And I think, we've got such a young squad here that even if it didn't happen this year, and I'm still being very positive that we've got every chance of it happening this year. Yeah. Although the Yankees are looking very good, to be fair to them. I think, if it doesn't happen this year, we've got at least 2-3 seasons ahead where these guys will still be around. They're going to be improving year by year by year. And if they make some key moves in terms of trades to keep bolstering this current roster up, we've got every chance of being world champs at some point over these next 2 or 3 years. And I think that's what we've got to look forward to.
Completely agree. I completely agree with that. Moreno is gonna learn and get better. We're going to have Kirk and Moreno for 3 years as we're going to get to the point where we've possibly got the best 1-2 catching tandem in baseball. Absolutely agree. The bullpen needs to get stronger. But if we can keep that core of 5 hitters up at the top of the lineup, I like Teoscar Hernandez. I'm a big fan of his. Sure. George and Bo, and I will tell you this: in person, George Springer is even more dashingly handsome than he is on the television.
Well, there you go. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
It's quite. He's quite disgustingly handsome. It's quite ridiculous.
Yeah, he's a nice bloke, and he's got a great sense of humor. He's Aussie. He's got so much experience as well that he brings to this team, and I think you certainly see in terms of the dugout antics that go on between him and Vladdy and the other guys. Brilliant to have him with us and to keep him healthy. I think last year where he was in and out through injury, this year on the whole he's been pretty good in terms of his health, and I think if they can manage that, having a full season with George Springer is going to be a huge difference for us. So, and
I'll just one quick other thing again from my kind of position where I was just by the dugout. There is so much interaction between these guys, and not just the kind of the famous Vladdy and Bo kind of bromance that they've got going on. Gurriel didn't start. Every time I look kind of into the dugout or next to the dugout, Gurriel was there kind of high-fiving the players that are coming back in, talking. Yep. Like you see lots of dugouts where there's silence. There's not all that much connection. This is a team that is absolutely connected together. And if they can keep that core together and they can keep that spirit, I really don't doubt, even if it's not this year, to echo what you've just said, this is a World Series winning team in the next 2 or 3 years. I also believe a lot in Charlie Montoyo. I think he does a very good job of allowing them to keep that spirit, but also keeping it all nicely controlled. They've got the right setup. They could absolutely do this in the next few years, I'm sure.
Excellent. Well, certainly that is glass half full. We like that, Mark, on here. Nice to hear some real positivity. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I know we've had a few issues with the internet, and yes, just the way technology goes. Sometimes it is what it is, but really appreciate your time and your willingness just to keep battling through. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I hope you can kind of cut little bits of this together nicely. I hope it hasn't been too distracting. Steve, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure for having me on. A real pleasure that you had me on. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it, and the chance to talk baseball is not something that us Brits get too often.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome. There's quite a few of us down here in Dorset. I think there's at least 6 or 7 of us Jays fans in this part of the world. So if you ever get a chance to come south and come and see us, and we can watch a game together, that would be cool.
We'll we'll watch a World Series game together. That
there you go. That's something to certainly look forward to.
That would be pretty good.
Brilliant. Mark, thank you so much. Have a safe trip home tomorrow. Have a good flight, and I hope that all goes well. Guys, thanks so much for listening in this evening. Appreciate all your feedback and your comments. Please let that keep coming in. If you want to come on, always drop me an email or get hold of me on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you can, on Instagram. I'm all of those places. But until next time, we shall see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
The Red, White, and Blue Jays podcast is a production of Blue Jays Fans UK. If you've got a Blue Jays story to share, let us know. Email us at bluejaysfansuk@gmail.com. And follow along on Twitter and Instagram at Blue Jays Fans UK. I'm your announcer, Jim Langton. Thanks for listening.